Keith Lee. Now, I was largely unfamiliar with Keith Lee. Until this recent Atlanta tour that he's on, in which he's, shout out to a little time bag chaser. I'm gonna read the super chat shortly. Until he landed in Atlanta, and it seems as though everybody is on a tear. Now, Keith Lee, according to my research, has been on the scene and he's been cooking up, and he has between 14 and 15 million TikTok subscribers as of the recording and the live streaming of this video. On Instagram, he has over 1 million people following on Instagram. And the word in the streets is that he can make or break, or he can absolutely positively give your restaurant or your business a boost if he goes in and he reviews his stuff and he gives it a good review. Now, I also found out that he's an ex-MMA fighter. His brother is an ex-MMA fighter. Some more details, and as somebody go viral or an industry is disrupted, that things will continue to change. What y'all have to understand is that disruption is coming all across the board. These traditional ways in which we look at things, and I know I'm going off on a tangent a little bit right here, but the traditional ways in which we look at what marketing is, how you bring visibility, the old ways of doing things. I was having a conversation with Rita yesterday, and I said, I am so surprised that I even have to pitch myself, or that these people, because I've had a local, not here in Detroit, but a local station that's in a different state. I had a local news company kind of reach out to me and kind of get a level of interest to find out if I would be interested in possibly exploring, being on local TV or whatever, right? And so that's happening, and it's a lot of feelers out there and stuff like that, right? But I was telling Rita yesterday, I said, I am so surprised that these industries are so behind. And she said, why is that? I said, because if you look at what it is that I do, and my ability to be able to build myself up and create my own audience and market myself and make myself something out of nothing, even when it comes to content creation. If you look at what it is that I do and how much better I am than what these local news stations and companies and these newscasters and these broadcasts and the traditional way in which they doing stuff, then they're basically still doing stuff the same way that they've been doing it for since I've been born, right? Yeah, they got a couple TVs in the background. They got some new news anchors. They still got dudes with no mustaches on there. And if you look at what I do versus what's being put on TV in that dying industry that they got going on, I said, why haven't more people actually reached out to me? And she was like, maybe because you be cussing too much. And so we laughed or whatever. But disruption will always be a part of our fabric, the same way that Uber disrupted the cab industry, the same way that marketing and advertising went from traditional newspapers and TV over into what it is that we're doing right now. Everything will continue to evolve, and the ones that actually understand evolution and change with the times, which is one of the reasons why I'm always on you guys to not be interdependent on these companies in order to make sure that you guys are taken care of or that you get your bag. Disruption, changes, evolution is always going to be here. It's always going to come. And I can't understand for the life of me why people can't adapt to it. But anyways, let's get back to it. Keith Lee, huge TikToker. From what I've seen, and I looked at a lot of his videos, he is one of the most authentic people that I've seen, as far as not necessarily trying to destroy a business or anything like that. But he just gives his honest reviews, and he's been on a tear in Atlanta. All right? So I'm going to play for you his most recent viral thing that everybody is hemming and hawing about, right? Hemming and hawing about. And they feeling some type of way because he's out here, he's having a conversation, and he's giving some honest reviews since he landed off the plane over in Atlanta. The place that he's about to talk about now is called Milk and Honey in Atlanta. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm. Let's get it started.
Me and my family are in Atlanta, and currently we are at the Real Milk and Honey. I got it. Let's try it and rate it 1 through 10. As you can see, I don't have any bags in my hands. We are at the Real Milk and Honey on Main Street in College Park. Before we came, we attempted to call our order in. We were greeted with an automatic message that said they do not take call-in orders. The automatic message said the only way you can do pickup is through DoorDash. We went through DoorDash, they was closed. But online, it said they closed at 5 o'clock. We went on DoorDash at 4 o'clock, but we were already here, so we just went inside. I stayed in the car and my family went in and they told them they were closed early for deep cleaning. Yet the door is wide open and it's people still going in and grabbing their orders. Now we have no idea if those people ordered beforehand or what the case is. Also, the people who relayed this message, my family said were really nice. It's just the rules. And so far being in Atlanta, I found some places do have unique rules and this is one of them. I want to be very clear, we're not blaming one person or saying one person was rude. In plain terms, don't call this restaurant trying to get nobody fired. Ain't nobody do nothing. This is just the rules they had. If you don't like they...
So as you can see, he's prefacing what he's saying by basically saying, listen, the hostess was nice. Apparently, Atlanta got this scene where, shout out to P. Shank, I'm going to be reading that super chat shortly. Apparently, Atlanta has this scene where they don't really do carry out in most of these places. And the way in which they see things and the different black businesses, they operate a little bit differently than I've seen in other places that I've visited, so on and so forth. And one of the things that he's done and that he does is that he's become so popular that he does not want people to recognize him and then adjust how it is that they serve you or how it is that they prepare the food, or they don't want to give him any kind of, he don't want the special treatment. He just want to give you an authentic review of what his experience was of trying out a specific type of food, right? Or what his experience was in visiting that restaurant. So he'll a lot of times send his mother or his girl in or his family members to go in, get the food, and then bring him something out, which is one of the things that's disruptive about what his process is because he's saying that most of these places don't even have carry out. So it's very difficult for him to even be able to review it. But he's going to these places. They're open. This place, Milk and Honey, is apparently saying that they're having problems. They tried to DoorDash. DoorDash is saying that they're not available. So it's so many different problems with this place that he's going to visit. Let's continue.
The rules not for you. And for me and my family, the rules just went for us. We just not their target audience. For the record, afterwards, I did walk in and they did recognize me and they attended the services, but I respectfully declined. I'm a normal person. I pay for my food like everybody else. I walk in spots like everybody else. We are all normal people. Respectfully, if you're not going to do it then, don't do it now. God bless you. But yeah, we just trying to get some food. But I am going to make this very clear. I do not support, condone, or agree tearing down these businesses. While we personally may not have the best customer service experience, that does not mean you will have the same experience. That also don't mean go on Twitter and tear these businesses down. At the end of the day, business owners are people. You never know what people are going through. The only reason I'm even making this is to share my authentic and real experience like I always do. I don't mean no harm, I don't have no malicious intent, but I always say I'm gonna be 100% honest, and that come with the good and the not so good. You don't know what nobody going through, so what we can't do is just judge off of somebody else's experience. If you like to go to these places or any other place that I've been to, I encourage you to go try it for yourself and make your own opinion. But we still in Atlanta and we on Main Street and it's a bunch of spots here, so we're gonna go to a different spot.
So he didn't even say really anything negative about the restaurant at all. He said, listen, the lady that was at the front desk, she was cool. She was nice. We couldn't really get no service and no food. And there was excuses in different ways in which they were saying stuff or whatever. So on a long story short, they wasn't able to get food at this place called Milk and Honey down there in Atlanta. He didn't even say nothing. He didn't kill him. He even encouraged people, hey, don't go after these businesses because this was my experience. And when I walked in, they wanted to give me all of this special service. I declined it because I pay for my food like everybody else. And so this is the way that I'm moving, right? But he didn't really even say anything. He was just real chill about it. Now, the Milk and Honey people, on the flip side, the black people that apparently owns this place, decided that they wanted to drop a video, but then they subsequently removed it after it started going viral, right? Let me play for you this 14-second clip that they decided to use as a response to Keith Lee because apparently they didn't know who he was.
Did you see this Keith Lee video about the Real Milk and Honey?
And who is this Keith Lee?
Daddy, you don't know Keith Lee?
Yeah.
No.
So, very corny, cringy video where they decided to do a response video where they like, did you see the Keith Lee video? You don't know who the Keith Lee is. Really basically being tongue-in-cheek and saying, and this is a very bad video. Like, you could come up with something better than this as a response, but I got my own opinion and I'm gonna save that to the end. But basically they came up with this corny response where the daddy and the mama or whoever it is that's sitting on the side basically was on some, hey, did you see this Keith Lee? And he like, I don't even know who that Keith Lee is. And then it even went further in the comments where they were kind of going off on him, saying that black people, I can't believe that y'all will let somebody like a TikTok reviewer even influence y'all on where it is that y'all supposed to be eating. So basically, they had that haughty spirit within them. And instead of moving and being a little bit more careful of how we move within this particular establishment, they decided they wanted to clap back on TikTok, right? And then they removed the video because a whole bunch of people started coming after them when they wasn't even having that type of smoke in the first place. In addition to that, he's reviewed multiple different videos, including whatever restaurant that Kandi Burress actually owns also down in Atlanta, right? Now, Kandi Burress, she's smart though. You smart. You loyal. And so apparently they got a restaurant down there in Atlanta also, and he went there, and I'm not sure exactly what it is that he said, but one of the things that he said is they don't have carry out. I guess I couldn't necessarily get any service at their restaurant also. And so she did a response video, and check out what she had to say as a result of him showing up.
Hey guys, what's up? It's your girl Kandi, and I'm about to speak on it. No, I'm joking. I'm not about to speak on it. I really just wanted to say I do appreciate Keith Lee for stopping by our restaurant and trying to show us love. It is very unfortunate that we couldn't serve him and his family. We would have loved to, okay? But he's right. We don't take to-go orders on the weekends, and the simple reason is because we do love and appreciate the people who come and support our restaurant. On the weekends, we get a lot of community support, people in our city that show up for us, as well as a lot of people from out of town. So with that being said, we don't want to overwhelm our kitchen by having to, have such long times for the people who are actually at the restaurant, plus having to do to-go orders, because obviously that would make the wait times even longer. So that's the reason for that. For those of you, I saw a couple of people was like, why wouldn't they take to-go orders? Well, that's why. Anyway, with that, outside of that, I want to say thanks to Keith for trying to even show up to our restaurant and show us love. Thanks for trying to bring your family by, and maybe next time we'll still get a chance to serve you. Okay. All right. Oh, and much love to our hostess. When I listened back to the video, I felt like she was being very polite. What she said to us was that basically when she called the names on the list before him or before his family, that the people didn't show up, which happens sometimes. Sometimes people put their name on the list and they don't want to wait. So I don't know. That's what she said to us. And other than that, if she did do it because she saw him, it's okay. Because, a lot of people, when they see somebody they love, they try to look out for them. And we try to look out for our people who come and support us. So with that being said, thank you for the support. Thank you to everybody who reached out today. We're okay. And thanks to Keith.
So she's smart. She's smart. Now, my advice for people as a person that has built restaurants, that is a silent investor in multiple different restaurants, my advice to people is always never, ever, 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 under any circumstance, respond to criticism. Never. If you ever go on Google reviews or Yelp and you see the owner in the comments responding to something that somebody said, often at times it's out of emotion, it's bitter, and it happens commonly with black people specifically. I'm going to be honest with you. It happens commonly with black people. Now, her response obviously was much, much better, and she actually did a really great job, in my opinion, compared to whoever the Milk and Honey people are, right? And so she basically learned from their mistakes. Obviously, she's media trained, so she understands how to move a little bit differently. A lot of people then gave her a lot of appreciation, and it gave them even more visibility, even though they didn't necessarily get a review either, right? And they didn't have the greatest review as far as the experience or the customer experience that's then happening down there at restaurants in Atlanta. But she's absolutely positively on top of it as far as her response to it. She didn't get back at him. She didn't try to clap back. She just said, I appreciate it. She added a little bit of context instead of giving excuses. And she said, listen, maybe we're going to try to do better next time. God bless y'all. Good night. God bless y'all. Good night. That's the only thing that could have happened or the best response if you are going to respond. It's the best response for you because the restaurant industry, even with the margins being low, even if you have a great cook, even if you have great reviews, even if the people like you, it's only one thing that needs to happen in order for you to then implode or for people to turn against you, which is one of the reasons why I decided to get out. One of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the reasons why I decided when I go into the restaurant business, I want to be a silent investor instead of being a public investor because I don't want what I say online to affect whether or not people decide they want to patronize the business or not. So, my portfolio doesn't necessarily have to be visibility, but then at the same time, I leverage understanding how marketing works with regard to 2023, 2024, and going forward. I leverage that in order to be able to help them become more successful in addition to the finances that I then deploy on that side also, right? But let me just give you a little bit of hint. And this is not just to the restaurant industry. This could be expanded across the board. You do not, 98, 99% of the time, unless you like are a content creator and you going back and forth and it's something where y'all both getting visibility and benefiting from it as far as going back and forth, the debate or whatever. But anytime somebody has something to say about you, you do not have to respond. I even had to learn this in my journey with different businesses and content creators, whatever. One thing we never did, we never, ever, ever, ever responded to anything negative when people didn't necessarily have the best customer service experience, or maybe an employee messed up somebody's food or something like that. We never. The only thing that we would do is maybe we would reach out if we had a way in which we can contact them in order to remedy it or make it better. Because y'all also have to understand that the majority of people that leave reviews, they're not going into it to leave a good review. Most people that go into an establishment or a business, and it doesn't matter if it's a restaurant or anything, most people go in to have a great experience. They have that great experience. They pay for their food. They tip or do whatever it is that they're going to do, and they keep it moving with their day. They're not going to necessarily go out of their way, go online, find your restaurant, go on Yelp, and then do a review on it unless you're trying to become a TikToker or an Instagram person that's trying to become famous. Very few people go in to leave a positive review, but if you ask them, and this is one of the keys that people need to say, is usually you can say, hey, or you can have whoever it is that's serving them or whoever it is that's at the front desk or whoever is at the register, and they ask them, hey, how was your experience? And people start to appreciate that. And they say, how was your experience? And they say, oh, well, my experience was this or it was good or whatever, so on and so forth. And they say, okay, great. Well, if you had a great experience, you give them a card or you give them a little piece of paper or a flyer and say, hey, can you leave a Google review or whatever, so on and so forth. If you had a great experience, give us 5 stars. It really helps us out as a business. I appreciate that. And then once you program them or you put it in their mind, you have a greater chance for them to actually leave a good review. Because again, most people are looking to just go in, eat their food, have a good time, and keep it moving. Very few people are actually looking to actually go out of their way for every single transaction that they do. Then you got to remember, we do transactions every day. We buy stuff from Amazon. We go to different restaurants. We buy cars. We do all of this stuff. And of all of the millions of transactions that's happening throughout the day and the billions of transactions that's happening throughout the day, 99.9% of them are not leaving reviews. Now, if somebody does have a bad experience, they're 10 times, maybe even 100 times more likely to go online, especially if they do not get a resolution as a result of it. They don't just say, I'm not going back to that. They spread the word. They talk to their friends. People start to say, if you get some visibility online, people will say, oh, I've been there. They leave comments. I didn't really care for it. The girl had a nasty attitude. And they will go out of their way to leave a bad review because they didn't like the experience. But very few times do people actually go out of their way to leave a good review unless you are incentivizing them or you're asking them or you're very intentional about that. So that's just a tip for anybody that ever has a business that is front-facing, brick and mortar, online, whatever. If you've ordered some shoes from a website or something like that, you don't go on and leave a good review on all of the different websites that you can leave a review on. Most of the apps that you download, you don't go and leave a review in the app store that you really, really like, the YouTube app or the Facebook app or anything like that. You just download it and you keep doing whatever it is that you're doing. Now, if somebody pisses you off and you want to say something in the comments, you definitely going to start to get that energy off. But my point is, whether you're in a restaurant business, you got a brick and mortar store, e-commerce, you got a massage, business, whatever you do not respond like the milk and honey people did. You are writing your own ticket to continue to lose money at the end of the day. You always, 99% of the time, ignore whatever it is that people are saying about it, make the adjustments, maybe reach out to them and try to change it, but do not, in any way, shape, or form, do not respond negatively if you possibly can. Hold that in. Even as a content creator, if somebody says something negative about you, you just keep cooking. Tomorrow, it's going to be somebody else, and it's going to be another story where they could just go ahead and they can talk about them or whatever. But you just work. Put the work in, make the changes, continue to win. And the best response is success. It's not even that the customer is always right, because a lot of times the customers be dead wrong. And that's a fact, though. They be in there scheming. They pulling hair out of their head in order to put it in the food to try to act like it was you. Ain't nobody in here even got no hair on their head. It's all men working in the back today. But you got that red hair on. It just so happened to be red hair in the food. I'm telling you, it ain't like they going to backtrack. Okay, I got you, ma'am. So you got to just bake that in with the losses. That's a part of the shrink. That's a part of the cost that we got to push over into the rest of the consumers to pay for your food because you wanted to come in and finesse. A lot of times the customers be dead wrong. I mean, dead wrong. 1,000% of the time. What you going to do? You keep it moving. You make the adjustments. You try to adjust in order to make sure that you don't have too much shrinkage. And then you keep it moving. And you cook up. And if you don't understand the cost of doing business, or that's a part of the cost of doing business, then you shouldn't be in business. You should not be in business. Flat out. All right? So that's what's happening with Keith Lee. We're going to keep an eye on it and see if the rest of Atlanta is willing to change their ways in order to be better businesses for the people.